Good morning, everybody. Matt Moda here to give you my favorite MLB home run predictions for today. We are talking Tuesday, May 13th. I'm going to have 4 home run picks for you guys to lock in for today's MLB betting slate. Very, very confident in the 4 plays that I have for you guys today. But before we can get into that, we do have to do a recap from yesterday, which was tough. I wish I could come up here and say anything different other than it was another rough day. That now makes it 4 straight days in which we haven't got any of our guys to hit a home run. Prior to that, we were in the green, I think 4 out of 6 days prior to this 4-game stretch. But it's been tough. And like I said, I wish I had anything other than that to say, but that's just kind of the nature of the business. It's the nature of home runs. And that's what's going on. Bryce Harper took him, didn't do anything at the plate, just a gross game from Bryce. Carey hit the ball really hard yesterday, but he didn't get the launch angle up on any of them, so none of them were really even close. And Jock Peterson had 2 hard hit flyouts, just could not quite get enough on those flyouts for them to turn into home runs, which means it's an 0 for 3 day, down 0.8 units on the Dong report. We're still up for the year, up 4.78 units on the entire year, up over 10% on the entire year. Isn't terrible. Doesn't take away how bad this stretch has been. And for those of you that weren't with us at the beginning of the year, you've really only dealt with this cold streak, which I apologize for. I mentioned it then, that's the nature of home runs, right? You're going to have hot streaks, you're going to have cold streaks. That's just the nature of what we're doing here, just betting in general. You're going to have these streaks, but 10% ROI in the grand scheme of things isn't terrible. I mentioned on a previous video, I was hoping to end the year between 15 and 20% ROI. So we will need to go on a good stretch here to get this ROI up. And then if you're just blindly putting 1 unit on everything, you're up 20 units. So again, all in all, not terrible, but this stretch has just been bad. Again, 4 straight days without getting anybody. Let's turn this thing around. I appreciate those of you that have been rocking with me. So if you could like, comment, and subscribe, would appreciate it. Even if you have bad things to say, negative comments, that's fine, because you kind of have to live with that during these cold streaks. Using Ballpark Pal, using their odds screen, using their park factors, using their matchup machines to find these plays, which will get us right into our first one, which is Ryan McMahon to hit a home run. Now, he is best offered at plus 420 odds at FanDuel. That is the number that I locked him in, plus 420. Actually, if you use no vig, you can go fishing and get a better price on no vig. So make sure to check that out if you're in a state where you can use no vig. But I'm going to track it at the 420 number at FanDuel. So the thing with Ryan McMahon, it's a decent matchup according to Ballpark Pal, a plus 8. But I do think that there's an advantage for McMahon that isn't quite being tracked by Ballpark Pal, because if you look at the pitch mix here, D plus is how they grade Ryan McMahon. He has been on fire against four-seam fastballs recently. So you can actually click into this letter grade and it'll show you all the different pitches. And we're just looking at this year for Ryan McMahon. Look at the last 5 times he's made contact with a four-seam fastball. 102, 100.4, 102.5, 106, no doubter, 100.8, just a little bit too high. 68, 59-degree launch angle, that's too much. But even before then, 103.8, likely homer. 102.1, 105.6, likely homer. 105.6, 96.7, that's considered a hard hit, but you just need that ball to be put up a little bit more, or hit a little bit harder and not as high. But just kind of showing you his EV logs against four-seam fastballs has been incredible. So I am not scared off of the bad grade that Ballpark Pal gives Ryan McMahon. And in general, he's been hitting the ball incredibly well. So we're looking at his last 2 weeks here, his last 14 days. 8 barrels in his last 14 days is really good. 22 hard hits in his last 14 days is also really good. And you kind of see like these hit or miss games. Like 2 games ago, he had 1 home run, two barrels. Really good game. Yesterday, 2 hard hits. Both of them were above 100 EV. Just didn't have the launch angle on either of them, as you can see by this negative launch angle. But you look at these last 2 weeks, a 16.8-degree launch angle is really, really good. And he has these games, 2 barrels, 2 barrels, 2 barrels. He kind of has these games where he's on fire. And I think that's what we can see tonight. You just kind of take a step back. You look at him on the entire season. ISO rate against right-handed pitching is 232. His barrel rate on the year is 13.5%. Decent numbers. Anything for barrel rate between 10 and 15 is good. Anything above 15 is great. For ISO rate, anything between 200 and 250 is good. Anything 250 and above is great. So against right-handed pitching specifically, which is what he's going to see in Jack Leader, that's decent. Now, Jack Leader is not a terrible pitcher. You look at his numbers The biggest issue for him is against lefties. He's only given up 2 home runs on the year in 12 innings pitched against. He's only given up 2 home runs on the year. Both of them have been hit against lefties in 12.1 innings pitched. But you look at his numbers across the board, pretty decently worse against lefties. Average higher, slugging higher, WOBA higher. And then you look at his barrel rate allowed, 8.7% isn't terrible. It's below average. And that launch angle is pretty high as well. So he's allowing guys to put the ball in the air and barrel them up at a decent rate, which is what Ryan McMahon has done well on the year and is doing well recently. So I think him at plus 420 is a very good price. That is our first play number 1. Next up, I took Byron Buxton to hit a home run. He is best offered at plus 425 odds at ESPN Bet, although it looked like that might have dropped. So right now you can get plus 400. I would still take it there. No issues on taking him at plus 400. Now, the one negative that I'll get out of the way with Buxton is this game might get rained out. It's pretty gross weather in Baltimore. Honestly, all these East Coast games are in danger of getting rained out. But Oriole Park, the Mets game, Citi Field, and the Phillies game are the 3 most unlikely of getting rained out. I think the other ones are probably going to play. So I really like the look on Buxton, and if he does get rained out, we just get our money back. But I don't want to not bet him just because of the weather, or just because of the rain, I should say. The biggest issue in favor of Buxton, the issue for the pitcher, is the righty versus lefty matchup. We're looking at Byron Buxton here. We're looking at him against left-handed pitching and that ISO rate and everything across the board, but specifically that ISO rate, 346. That's excellent. You look at the league leaders in ISO rate, they're going to be around this number. That is what Buxton does against left-handed pitching, batting 346, 692 slugging, 1.063 OPS, just phenomenal numbers against left-handed pitching. And he's going up against a lefty that is not a good pitcher. Cade Povich of the Orioles, giving up 7 home runs on the year. All 7 have been hit against righties. Kind of similar. Everything across the board is worse. Average, slugging, WOBA. His home run per 9 against righties, 2.30, is terrible. Everything is bad across the board. And yeah, it's a good matchup for Byron Buxton to hit a home run, plus 9, extreme advantage, according to Ballpark Pal, for him to hit a home run. And Buxton, you look at him over his last 2 weeks, he's been decent. He hasn't been amazing. I meant to go to game log. His last 2 games have been rough. 0 hard hits, a bunch of strikeouts. But prior to that, look at this stretch. 3 hard hits, 3, 2, 2, 2, 3, 0, but then 2 with the barrel. You look at these barrels, 1, 1, 2. Pretty good stretch here for Buxton, and you can kind of forgive him for 2 games where he struck out a decent amount, because prior to that was on fire. And yeah, barrel rate of 16.5% on the year is very, very good. So all this stuff looks good for Buxton. Really, the only risk is if he gets rained out, and if he does, we get our money back. It's impossible to lose your money if you get it back. So at least that's a bonus for us. That's play number 2. Next up, I took Kyle Tucker to hit a home run. He is best offered at plus 450 odds. I guess another one that dropped. You can still get 450 actually at BetMGM. So I sent it out at ESPN Bet. You can get it at BetMGM for the same price. So the only issue here with Tucker is the weather, and it's a bad weather game. It's winds blowing in at Wrigley Field. So it's, minus basically 0.6 of a home run because of the weather at Wrigley Field. But you kind of look into that. The wind is very, very, the wind affects the trajectory of the ball significantly at Wrigley Field compared to most stadiums. That's why it says wind effect, how receptive is the stadium to wind. Extreme. So even though they're light winds, it's going to affect the carry of the ball. But everything else doesn't look terrible. It's a little bit chilly, but the humidity's high. The barometric pressure is low. Both of those are good for carry. And, part of this cold streak, I've been looking at the weather and it hasn't mattered. So I'm starting to disavow weather. I'm starting to wonder if weather is fake. But I really like the look on Kyle Tucker. Obviously, it's a massive advantage in favor of him against the pitcher he's going up against. Tucker isn't the hottest hitter on the plate right now, but you go through his numbers and he's very, very good. ISO rate 268, that's considered excellent. Anything, again, I mentioned 250 and above is considered excellent. Barrel rate is a good number, 13.4%, actually a career high for Kyle Tucker, so that's good. And the beauty of backing Tucker to hit a home run is he's always had a high launch angle. He's always been among the league leaders in putting the ball in the air. So yeah, that barrel rate is a little bit low. The hard hit rate is a little bit low when you compare him to guys like Ohtani and Judge, but his home run numbers are phenomenal because he puts the ball in the air. And that's what Kyle Tucker does great. 18.4-degree launch angle is phenomenal. Fly ball rate of 50%, pull rate of 47.9%. Both of those numbers are amazing for Kyle Tucker. Very, very good. And the pitcher he's going up against, Valente Belozo, has been decent this year in terms of home runs, right? He's not allowed a ton of home runs. He's a home run per 9 in 18 innings is 0.5. That's pretty good. Last year, he was a terrible home run pitcher, home run per 9 of 1.97. And his numbers, his hard hit rate is low, the launch angle is high, and the barrel rate is high as well. So I'm not necessarily considering him a pitcher that is going to be incredibly difficult in terms of taking home runs against them. It's kind of what I'm thinking here. And it's a good advantage for Kyle Tucker, plus 10 extreme advantage in favor of him. Very good home run numbers for Kyle Tucker, according to Ballpark Pal, like plus 1.8% more likely for Tucker, plus 2.2% more likely for the pitcher when you just look at the matchup itself. And, Tucker's great. He's got A against right hand, A plus against left hand. From a release point perspective, A and A plus, that's good. You go through the numbers here. I mean, they're not great from Valente Belozo unless he took a step forward this year, and mostly good for Kyle Tucker. A on the four-seamer. Cutter, not so much, but an A. These two haven't seen each other at all over the last 3 years, so no batter versus history. But yeah, Tucker 4% more likely to hit a home run. Belozo 2.8% more likely to allow a home run versus the league average per at-bat. So all that stuff is very, very good for Kyle Tucker. And you look at him recently, again, he's not the hottest batter on the plate in the world over the last 2 weeks, but he's not bad either. And that's kind of the main thing is like, you're not completely lost at the plate. 6 barrels over his last 2 weeks. Granted, 3 barrels in 4 games is very good. 2 hard hits in each of his last 3 games is also very good. So we like to see that. And so that's pretty good for Kyle Tucker. That is play number 3. And then our fourth and final pick of the video before we get into some leans, James Wood. I'm taking him to hit a home run. He is best offered at plus 525 odds at BetMGM and Bet365. Now, I send all my plays out through Tails. That's the software where I send it out. They don't pull odds for Bet365, which is why you don't see them on the screen here. But when I sent it out, you mentioned the best offered price is at Bet365 at plus 525. So that's what I'm tracking. I would still take it at plus 520 at FanDuel if that's the best you can get. But I really, really, really like backing James Wood. Now, to get the negative out of the way, Ballpark Pal does not like it. So this is one where I'm going against Ballpark Pal. I don't really understand why they have this grade. It leans in favor of Schwellenbach, but I'm definitely not scared off of it. Let's just go through kind of all the metrics when you look at a batter versus pitcher. Release point, right hand. A for Wood. He's good against righties. He's a lefty. A on the release point on both vertically and horizontally. Good to go there. Pitch type. He throws Schwellenbach throws a four-seam fastball the majority of the time. A plus against four-seam fastballs for James Wood. Now the slider is not so good. James Wood has been hitting this stuff pretty decently this year. Like you look into the contact, and this year it's not horrible against sliders, right? We're looking at the year 2025, 101 off the bat, 106 off the bat, maybe home run. 97.5 miles per hour off the bat, just got too far under it, and then 103.8. It's not a ton of sample size, but we see like 1, 2, 3, 4 hard hits in this sample size, so that's not terrible. And then you kind of go through, these are all question marks, so that's kind of why there's not a great grade. But then you look at like some of the location stuff. Schwellenbach pounds the middle of the strike zone. Guess who has an A plus and an A where Schwellenbach throws the ball the most in the strike zone? That would be James Wood. Let's look at the other side. He again pounds the middle of the strike zone. A on one side, he throws it 2% more likely than the average pitcher, and then a B here, which isn't great, and then a D when he throws it low. So that part is a little bit scary. But again, you look into it, and this year for James Wood, it's just a lot different than what it's been recently. Now this one, it's 3 pitches, and none of them he hit well. So that one you can understand the grading there. But again, it's 3 pitches, and Wood has been significantly better this year than he had been last year. And then the last thing that I'll mention about this play is Schwellenbach is a good pitcher, right? He's young. He had a great year last year. This year, he has really struggled against left-handed hitters. So his home run per 9 on the year, 0.95. Decent number, not scary, decent. Barrel rate, 6.4%, decent. Hard hit rate is a little bit higher than what you would like for a pitcher. That launch angle is decent. But you go to his splits, and you look at him against lefties, all 5 of his home runs have been hit off of left-handed hitters. And that average, 263, significantly higher. Slugging, 475, significantly higher. WOBA, significantly higher. You go through all his numbers. Home run per nine, 1.78. That's a much worse number for Schwellenbach. And you go through the ground ball rate. The fly ball rate is higher. Line drive rate is lower, but I mean, that fly ball rate is significantly higher. And the pull rate is about the same. And the barrel rate is much, much higher against left-handed hitters as well. So these two haven't seen each other, but I really like going with James Wood. And then the last thing I'll mention is I know that he just hit a home run yesterday. He has been on fire at the plate. You look at James Wood, and I think it was since May 3rd. So he's played 9 games since May 3rd. 4 barrels is not amazing, but he had 2 yesterday. 22 hard hits in 9 games is absolutely incredible. And you look at these numbers. I mean, 2, 2, 3, 2, 4, 3, 1, 3, 2. Yesterday, he did hit a home run, which I know that sometimes scares people off. But if you look at the season for James Wood, we're just going to look at the entire year. He's had stretches where he's gone on these home run binges, right? We look at back in beginning of April. Home run, then he hit 2 the next game. Day off, then another home run. That's 3 in 4 games. And then he had another, I guess that was the best stretch for like home run, missed in 2 games, then home run, missed in 3 games, then home run. Like he's been really good this year. A little bit of a colder streak that I think he's coming out of. So the reason why he hadn't hit any over the stretch is because his launch angle had been low, but he had games where he's put the ball in the air, and he did yesterday with the home run that he hit, and then had another hit that was over 100 miles an hour off the bat. So James Wood, 4th and final official play. Here are all the 4 plays that I'm going with. Buxton, Ryan McMahon, Kyle Tucker, and James Wood. I mentioned it here, in desperate need of having a good dong day. There's no way around that. Very confident in these 4. In terms of leans, I do have some guys written down that I didn't end up going with. Correa, another good look, but I didn't want to have 2 guys in a game that might get rained out, and Buxton is better against lefties. These 2, Andy Pages and Will Smith, I actually both really like. Neither of them had odds last I checked. And we can refresh this and see, maybe their sports books are starting to release some odds, but they're going up against Jeffrey Springs, who's a lefty. Both of those guys are hot at the plate, and they've both been hitting lefties pretty hard. So it looks like we only have FanDuel out for odds for both of these guys, Andy Pages and Will Smith. Depending on what happens with Buxton, I might end up pivoting and adding one of these 2. I'll let you know. Between Tucker and Pete Crow-Armstrong, PCA, is not nearly as hot at the plate as he had been, so I held off on him. And Soto I like. That game I think is also going to get rained out, so I didn't want to have 2 plays where the guys don't play. So these are our 4 official home run plays for today. Real quick, we'll do the math here, and then we will get on out of it. If all 4 hit a home run, up 4.5 units. Basically, if all 4 hit, not even including if you parlayed all 4, we'll make back all the losses that we've had over this rough, let's call it month. It was 4 days recently. Prior to that, we had a rough stretch. I appreciate you guys for rocking with me. Make sure to like the video, comment, subscribe. If you want to check out my Tails account, I put a link there. Same thing with Ballpark Pal. Put a link to the description. And you can get a 10% discount for the month or 15% for the year if you are interested. Again, thanks for watching. Make sure to bet responsibly and have a good one.